اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All praises are Allah's, Lord of the worlds, and may His peace and blessings be upon our Master, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and His pure immaculate Ahlul Bayt. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajjal farajahu. Allahumma amti'ana bi asma'ina wa absarina wa quwwatina ما أحييتنا واجعله وارثا منا. This is where we left off last night. Oh Allah, make us benefit by means of our hearing, by means of our seeing, and other faculties and powers. Ma ahyaytana, in a manner that you grant us life. Waj'alhu, and assign it, this it is referring to that life which we're asking to be granted, and assign that life as our waris, our heir. As I tried to establish last night, we have to not suffice with the external warises, the external warathe. We ought not to suffice with the external righteous legacies, the baqiyat al-salihat. Our aim is to be our own waris, and only then can we spiritually elevate in barzakh. And to be our own waris, we have to use our hearing and seeing in such a manner that Allah grants us Hayaat al-Tayyibah, the good life, the pure life. This seeing and hearing isn't a case of just not hearing haram things, or not hearing backbiting and so on and so forth, or not seeing haram. That's the definition of taqwa. It's not the definition for Hayaat al-Tayyibah, for acquiring the good life. Taqwa is the minimum in Islam. Taqwa per se is not a perfection. It's a preliminary to perfection. So it's necessary, but it's not sufficient. This hearing and this seeing is something else. Just to give you a few examples of what this seeing and hearing is, before actually entering the essence of Hayaat al-Tayyibah, the pure life. Those who acquire this status, whatever they hear, their faith increases. Whatever the input to one's hearing is, the output is an increase in faith. If one's husband shouts at one, or one's wife shouts at one, their faith still increases. If a community backbites behind one, does them oppression of any sort, whatever they see, whatever they hear, they see, they hear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their faith increase. Due to that proximity they have to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is more than taqwa. Those who have taqwa can get hurt by people shouting at them, by people swearing at them, by people insulting them. But those with Hayaat al-Tayyibah, no. Even if people swear at you, your faith still increases. Those traditions where the person came to Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam and kept on swearing, said this and said that and different things, but the Imam wasn't harmed an iota due to the Imam's presence before Allah. Whatever he hears, whatever he sees. People with the good life, with Hayaat al-Tayyibah, whether they see a kafir, a dog, a Muslim, whatever they're seeing manifestations of Allah's attributes. They're always in the presence of Allah. And as a result of this hudur, this presence, and this qurb, this proximity which they have, whatever they see and hear, whatever the input, the output is just an increase in faith, a constant increase. The deviating ones can't hurt you a bit once you acquire this status. Chapter 5, verse 105, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, alaykum anfusakum. O you who believe, guard yourselves, your very selves. Alaykum anfusakum. Travel internally and preserve your inner self. But preserve it well. It's used with emphasis. If you do so, if you succeed in relation to this internal exploration, لا يضركم من ضل إذا اهتديتم. Those who stray, those who deviate, can't hurt you, if and only if you're guided though. You won't get hurted at all. If you like, you're an untouchable now. You've entered the realm of Hayaat al-Tayyibah. Those with taqwa will still get hurt. Taqwa is the minimum. That's the first step in spiritual wayfaring, if you succeed. The step after taqwa is the status of muttaqeen, those who have properly incorporated taqwa. Most of us, we have taqwa, states of it. But some of us, taqwa has been deeply ingrained now. Now, some scholars say one sign to assess yourself as to whether you have that status of muttaqeen is that you don't even sin in your dreams. If you don't sin in your dreams, the mithali soul now, it's been properly incorporated with, it's deeply ingrained in taqwa. Anyway, that's a higher stage. The status of the muttaqeen is a bit more advanced than the status of having taqwa. In any case, those with taqwa, those who are muttaqeen, they can still get hurt by the deviating ones. It bothers them how people speak with them. It bothers them when people, either knowingly or unknowingly, disrespect them, and so on and so forth. So you can easily assess for yourselves what status you're at. Most people with taqwa, they won't be able to spiritually elevate in barzakh. Hayaat al-Tayyibah is necessary. Okay. Just a quick word on qurb, proximity. A holy tradition states, تَخَلَّقُوا بِأَخْلَاقِ اللَّهِ. decorate your soul, decorate yourselves, incorporate within yourselves Allah's attributes. The more you incorporate Allah's attributes, Allah is Sabur, you're Sabur. Allah is Ghafoor, you're Ghafoor. The more you incorporate within yourselves and be a manifestation of Allah's attributes, the more you'll be, forgive the expression, Allah-like. The more Allah-like you are, the more in proximity you are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Islam, we too believe that Allah created man in His own image, but with this interpretation, not the physical image. Allah has no physical image. We were created to such a degree that we can become more and more Allah-like by being manifestations of His attributes. The stronger the degree of us being manifestations of Allah's attributes, the more Allah-like we'll be. As a result, the more the presence and qurb, proximity, we acquire with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Acquiring Allah's presence can reach such a degree that even when you're eating, even when you're drinking, when you're speaking with your family members, people in general, you're doing it in Allah's presence, in His proximity. Usually for us, we acquire this proximity in the ibadat, in salat for example. In fasting, we're limited to these actions. But there are those who acquire this proximity, being in Allah's presence in all their actions, like the holy Imams, the Holy Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Aqim as-salah li-dhikri. For us, to acquire that presence before Allah, recalling Allah constantly, salat is an important tool. Establish the salat for the purposes of recalling me, Allah. That's the ultimate objective behind salat. As-sawmu li. Fasting is mine. It's a holy tradition, sacred tradition where Allah says, fasting is mine. Wa ana ajzi bih. And I shall reward by means of it. I, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, shall reward by means of it. The Gnostics go higher here. They say, why do you read it as ana ajzi bih? Why don't you say ana ujza bih? I, Allah, am the reward. I am the rewarded. Fasting is mine. You fast, I am the reward. Not I shall reward. I am rewarded. What does it mean when we say Allah is rewarded? This next tradition clarifies what this means and why the Gnostics read Ana ajzi bih as Ana ujza bih. I am rewarded by means of it. This is a sacred tradition where Allah says, Man talabani faqad wajadani. Whoever seeks for me will find me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa man wajadani arafani. Whoever finds me will acknowledge me. Wa man arafani ahabbani. Whoever acknowledges me will like me. Wa man ahabbani ashaqani. And whoever likes me will get to love me. Wa man ashaqani ashaqtuhu. Whoever loves me, Allah, I will love them. وَمَنْ أَشَقْتُهُ فَقَدْ قَتَلْتُهُ. And whoever I love, I will kill. وَمَنْ قَتَلْتُهُ فَعَلَيَّ دِيَّتُهُ. And whoever I kill, their blood money is upon me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَنْ عَلَيَّ دِيَّتُهُ. And whoever's blood money is upon me, أَنَا دِيَّتُهُ. I am the blood money. Whoever loves me, I'll kill them. Their I, their immaterial rational spirit, the essence of what they are, all traces of ego will be slaughtered, will be eliminated, leaving no space for anything but Allah. This killing means the slaughtering of the ego by means of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then anadiyatuhu, I am the blood money. You're now a true manifestation of my attributes. Anyway, with practice, with faith, with increased perfection, one will reach a stage where even on eating, one is in proximity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For us, it's with salat, it's with fasting. For some people, even with eating, they recall Allah, they're in the presence of Allah. For us, when we eat, we usually distance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then once one of my ustads, when he was giving a speech on this topic, I went to him and said, those who reach this level, are you saying that whether they are eating or doing salat, the effect is the same? They're in Allah's proximity? Is that what you're saying? And he's a very prominent ustad. There's no need to mention his name here, and he said yes. For some people, there's no difference between salat and eating. I mean, salat is wajib. The Sharia, you can't, eating isn't wajib, but salat is wajib. But what he's trying to say was that for some people, the effect of salat and the effect of eating, due to that increased perfection of theirs, the spiritual effect is one and the same. What's that? That presence before Allah. And that's only food for thought. I just wanted to share with you that. Okay, now yesterday it was concluded that the Mithali soul resides in Barzakh at a given X level as a result of one's actions, and that one can't elevate above X in Barzakh. They'll be within that given level. Whatever they acquired in this world, they'll be granted in that world, in that realm, in Barzakh, in that specific level. But the Baqiyat al-Salihat, we said, has some benefit for the deceased, but it won't be a cause of the deceased's spiritual elevation. There'll always be that level of perfection they acquired in this world, they'll acquire in Barzakh. They're in that level of faith. They won't be able to spiritually elevate themselves. However, the Baqiyat al-Salihat will benefit them, but that benefit wasn't tantamount to spiritual elevation. We said that benefit was that if they're in one of the levels of hell in Barzakh, the Baqiyat al-Salihat, their actions in this world which still remain, for example, the hospital is still in place, the orphanage is still in place, it will eliminate some of the hardships of that person in that level of hell in Barzakh. And if they're residing in one of the levels of heaven in Barzakh, we said the benefit of one's Baqiyat al-Salihat upon them is that they'll be given more provisions, heavenly provisions in Barzakh. That was the definition of being benefited. So it's partially true to say that spiritual growth, faith, proximity to Allah, all these end at death. It's partially true. I mean, this applies to most people, but it's not the whole picture. But for most people, whatever degree of elevation we acquired in this world, that's going to be our degree in Barzakh. Now, some traditions state and describe this state in Barzakh, where there's no further room for spiritual elevation, as a state of limbo. It's a state of staticity. And I tried to say last night that your righteous legacies, Bariyatul Salihat, they're minimal and temporary. They'll end one day. And then you won't even benefit at all. And there's no room for spiritual elevation for most of us. Most of us will be in a state of limbo. So on the promised day, many people will say, when they address and say, where were you, what did you do? That time in Barzakh, they'll recall it as being absent for a day or a half a day. It's because they were in a state of limbo in Barzakh. Staticity in these traditions means that the Mithali soul has no means of spiritually acting or growing, let alone being benefited anymore. And these people in this state of limbo in the traditions are called the Mustaz'afun or the Mutawassitun, and they're referred to in verses of the Quran too. But there are exceptions. There are people who on death in Barzakh, there's still room place for spiritual elevation. They can go higher and higher spiritually in Barzakh. And they are those who have entered the realm of Hayaat al-Tayyibah in this world. These people strived so hard in this world that they were independent of the physical body vis-a-vis their spiritual elevation in this world. Because we need the physical body for spiritual elevation. The I, this immaterial rational spirit, needs a body to spiritually elevate. In this world, it's the physical body. But it's possible for people to elevate to such a degree in this world that they become independent, elevation-wise, of the physical body. They don't need the physical body to elevate themselves spiritually. They've acquired their Barzakh, if you like, in this world. These people in Barzakh, they can continue to elevate themselves. Okay, now, according to the logic of the Quran, who qualifies as being the mayyit? Who is qualified as being dead according to the logic of the verses of the Holy Quran? And who qualifies as being hay, living? The physicians have one criteria. However, the criteria of the verse of the Quran differs from that of the physicians. The Quran has a specific criterion in relation to who is dead in reality and who is living in reality. According to the Quran, the living person in this world is dead. And according to the Quran, the dead person, after dying a physical death, they're living. Now, why should the physically dead person be regarded as living? Chapter 29, verse 64. وَمَا هَذِهِ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَهْوٌ وَلَعِبٌ this worldly life is nothing but lah, diversion, and la'ib, amusement. One who's occupied with and preoccupied with the worldly life, one who's occupied with diversion and amusement and lah and la'ib, I'll go into more detail inshallah tomorrow, but just to give a brief definition, whatever distracts one from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constitutes lah and la'ib. If you're confined to lah and la'ib, if you're confined to diversion and amusement, you're not living according to the logic of the Holy Quran. You're dead. What's the proof? The continuation of the verse. وَإِنَّ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ لَهِيَ الْحَيَوَانِ. Verily the abode of the hereafter, that is life. What you see, what you live, what you experience in the hereafter, that's the true meaning of life. You'll only see life there. لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. If only you knew. So the apparently dead person is alive and living on death. And the apparently living person is dead in this world. Chapter 50, 22. لَقَدْ كُنْتَ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مِّنْ هَذَا فَكَشَفْنَا عَنْكَ غِطَاءَكَ فَبَصَرُكَ الْيَوْمَ حَدِيدٌ. Chapter 50, 22, verse 22. Verily you were in this world, you were in ignorance. You were ignorant min hadha, in relation to this, in relation to the fact that the living are dead in this world due to their occupation, being preoccupied with lahw and la'ib. You were ignorant that the living were dead in this world. You were drowned in your lahw. You were drowned in your la'ib. You were ignorant of this. فَكَشَفْنَا. Then we removed. Anka, we removed from you غِطَاءَكَ, your veil. We removed your veil from you on death. فَبَصَرُكَ الْيَوْمَ, and your sight, your seeing today on death in the hereafter, hadid, is iron. You know the metal iron? But here, hadid means penetrating, means acute. Now you're dead physically. In the hereafter, your sight is very acute, penetrating. You see all things. Now the veils have been removed. You see all truths. You see all realities now. The aim was to unveil these veils in this world, but you were preoccupied in lah and la'ib. It's too late now. On death, we remove all the veils. You see all realities now. You're all sight. You're all seeing now. You're all hudur now. You're all presence. Presence before all the realities. The curtains are removed. You see everything. Here, the mithali soul has put aside the physical brain. The brain has no role now. You see and perceive and are in the presence of truth. Truth becomes all apparent for you. لَقَدْ كُنْتَ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مِّنْ هَذَا فَكَشَفْنَا. You were ignorant of this. Now the veils are removed. Now you see everything. You had no perception, no presence of haqq in this world because you were ignorant of it. You were ignorant of the fact that the living are dead due to that being drowned in diversion and amusement. On death, Archangel Israel has removed the veils now. But it's too late. You should have removed the veils in this world to have that presence, to have that sight in relation to the truth. It's no grace for it to be removed for you by Israel alayhi salam on death. You should have done that unveiling in this world by means of spiritual wayfaring. But it's too late now. It's too late. And on death, most of us just wake up. We just begin and we just notice all the realities on death. Otherwise, when we're living, we're all asleep. And so, niyam. People are asleep. They're all asleep. إِذَا مَاتُوا انْتَهَبُوا. When they die, the physical death, do they become awakened? But it's too late. You should have been awakened in this world to have something for the hereafter. So after one dies, the consequence of having been fi ghaflatin, having lived in ignorance in this world, after one dies, the consequences of this ignorance include the following. Although on death one is 100% sight, one is 100% perception, one is 100% presence in relation to the realities and the truths, the divine truths in the hereafter, this perception of the truth will have no role or potential with respect to any further spiritual growth. It won't benefit you. You can see the truths, you can perceive the truths, but you won't benefit from the truths. You'll be static, but you see the truths. But due to the level you acquired in this world, you'll be static in the hereafter, because you were dead. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam in Nahj al-Balagha states, Inna al-arwaha murtahinatun بِثِقْلِ أَعْبَائِهَا. On death, the mithali soul, the spirits, they're kidnapped, they're captivated, they're imprisoned by the heaviness of their sins, by the heaviness of their actions. They're kidnapped, they can't move, they're imprisoned. On death, in the hereafter, you'll see angels, but you won't benefit from them. You'll see the imams, but you won't benefit from them. If you want to benefit from the imams on death, that had to be acquired in this world. Whatever you acquire in this world, you'll have in the hereafter. You must benefit from the imams in this world and take that with you to the hereafter. You'll see everything there in the hereafter, but you won't benefit from it if you were fi ghaflatin. You'll see all the truths, because now on death the curtains are unveiled. But that's no honor anymore, because you didn't unveil them in this world. Whatever occurs in the hereafter, you're taking it from here. Everything is acquired in this world. Don't think of acquiring in the hereafter. Everything is here. Just to give an example, to be able to clarify this. Imagine two students. One usually gets 20 out of 20, the other gets 4 out of 20. So they go to an examination. One of them works hard for it, the other doesn't work hard for the exam. When the exam results are given, one of them gets 20 out of 20, one gets 4 out of 20. The one who gets 4 out of 20, when the examination results are published or disclosed, the results won't benefit. The answers to the exam won't benefit the student who got 4 out of 20. Will it? There's no benefit. But the student who got 20 out of 20, he'll continue to elevate academically. He'll go to university. He'll go higher and higher. Because he acquired that knowledge before the examination results. He unveiled knowledge, if you like, before the results were given. So who is the dead referring to in the Quran? The answer is those who were veiled from the truths in this world. Those who didn't acquire that hudur in this world, that presence in this world. لَقَدْ كُنْتَ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مِّنْ هَذَا. They were ignorant of this hudur, this presence before Allah. On death, the veils are removed and one acquires this presence, but it's too late. Why is it too late? Because you've created your hell already. All those vicious attributes, they'll be manifested, resurrected, embodied in the hereafter. It's too late now. Tajassumul a'mal, we've spoken about that 2 or 3 nights ago. It's too late now. You seeing the truths will not benefit you. But if you die in this world, you're physically living, but you're dead in this world, i.e., you unveil the truths in this world. Death in accordance with the Quranic definition of death. If you die in this world, you're physically living. If you unveil the truths in this world, you're dead. But since you've unveiled the truth in this world, since you acquired that hudur, that presence in this world, that will be a source of benefit and elevation in the hereafter for you. Mutu qabla an tamutu. It's a holy tradition. Die before you die. Now this should become evident what this means. The first dying, die, the imperative, die before you die. This die is unveil the truth. Acquire that hudur before you die the physical death. Because the dead, according to the Holy Quran, was life. Inna ad-dar al-akhirah lahiya al-hayawan. We have traditions that says, if you desire to see the dead, people who are living, if you want to see the living person who is termed in the traditions as mayyit, if you want to see the mayyit, the dead, referring to the person who has unveiled all truths in this world, see Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Because he had unveiled all truths. He was 100% hudur in relation to Allah, in relation to divine realities. 100% hudur in relation to seeing angels, this, that and the other. In this world, he acquired that. He had this in this world. chapter 6, 122. Now, you may have read this verse many times, but not focused on it in this light. أَوَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ كَمَنْ مَثَلُهُ فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِنْهَا. Is the one who's lifeless, and then we granted that person who is lifeless, then we granted it life, that hayat. He's living, but he's dead. He's living, but he's dead. Why is he dead? Because of being preoccupied in lahw and la'ib. Then we granted him life. Is the person who was lifeless in the realm of lahw and la'ib, then we granted him life. He exited that realm. He entered now the realm of Hayaat al-Tayyibah, because he's already living. This life is referring to Hayaat al-Tayyibah. وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا, and as a result we assigned him with a light with which يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ, by means of which he'll walk فِي النَّاسِ, amongst the people. Remember yesterday, kun fin nas wala takun ma'ahum. Be amongst the people, but don't acquire their color, their attributes. You need a light in order to disassociate yourselves from the vicious attributes of people. But you have to be with them. If you want to be with them and be safe, you have to acquire Hayaat al-Tayyibah. Is the lifeless who has been granted Hayaat al-Tayyibah, and therefore we assigned this light for them to be able to be with the people. يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ كَمَنْ مَثَلُهُ فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِنْهَا, like one who dwells in a manifold darkness. They're living, but they're in manifold darkness. They're drowned in lahw and la'ib. They're dead. And they can't leave that realm because of their being severely drowned in it. Are they alike, these two? Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam said, if the veil of death is taken from me right now, not an iota of iman will be added. Because his yaqeen was complete. He acquired it in this world. He acquired his barzakh. He's already in barzakh. His yaqeen he won't see anything extra in barzakh, because he was 100% huzur in this world. Everything was unveiled in this world in relation to the imams. But for us, things just become unveiled on death, and then we see it, but it's too late. We won't be able to benefit from it. The yaqeen of Amir al-Mu'mineen was perfect. Nothing is added. Yaqeen has different stages. We have ilm al-yaqeen, yaqeen by means of knowledge. Ilm al-yaqeen. We have ayn al-yaqeen, a kind of intuitional yaqeen, by means of intuition. And we have haqq al-yaqeen. Ayatollah Jawadi Amani gives an example of the medical student when he wants to describe these three forms of yaqeen. And then I'll give you another example of yaqeen too. What Ayatollah Jawadi Amani says, hafadahullah, he says, the medical student, when he reads the book, sorry, if I can just get it. Sorry. When the medical student reads books on heart transplantations, reading that these procedures occur, he has certainty, or rather certitude, by means of his knowledge, his reading, that heart transplantations are a reality. He has yaqeen. And then, after many years studying medicine, he's allowed to see in the operation room heart transplantations being done. He's seeing heart transplantations. This is Ainul Yaqeen. He's now seeing heart transplantations. Before, he had read about them, and he had yaqeen that these are a reality. But now he's seeing heart transplantations being done. His yaqeen is higher. And then after becoming a heart surgeon, he acquires haqqul yaqeen. He does the heart transplantations himself. He's acquired he's a manifestation of the attribute transplanter. He's a transplanter now. Now the yaqeen of someone who's doing the heart transplantation is more than one who sees it, which is more than one who just reads about it. But another example which is also very good and applies to you brothers and sisters as Americans is this. Most of you were maybe in Iran or Iraq, Lebanon, Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, Kashmir, wherever, once upon a time. You had read about a land called America in the books on geography or whatever. And you had yaqeen that America exists by means of your reading geography. Then you immigrated and came to America and you saw America. Your yaqeen in relation to America has increased now. You're seeing America, you're in America. And then after a number of years, you're given an American passport and you become an American now. You are an American. Your yaqeen in relation to America is even more now. And then if you live the American dream, then that's even more maybe, yes. Okay. Chapter 16, verse 97. Man amila saliha min dhakarin aw untha. Whoever executes a righteous actions, be one male or female, وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ, whilst being a believer, فَلْنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. We will most certainly grant him life. But here it describes the life, that hayatun tayyibah, the good life, the pure life. We're slowly entering the discussion of hayatun tayyibah now. If you do righteous actions, now we have to explain what righteous actions are. It's not a case of just doing these, doing Salatul Rahim, praying. No, righteous actions. The Salihin is the highest state of spiritual wayfaring, according to the Gnostics. Don't take Salihin for granted. It's the highest state. It's a common mistake to attribute all our good actions that we do ourselves as salih, as righteous actions. Righteous actions has a specific definition. It has a number of prerequisites. Until those prerequisites aren't realized, it won't qualify as being salih. Whoever does righteous actions, be they male or female, whilst having iman, فَلْنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. We'll grant them life, most certainly. We'll grant them life, the pure life. In this world, we'll grant them the pure life. Irrespective of gender, in relation to spiritual elevation, there's no difference between you being a man or a woman. The capacity to acquire spirituality before Allah is equal. Why? Because sex and gender are secondary to what we are by essence. By essence, we're the immaterial, rational soul. The immaterial rational soul is immaterial. It has no sex. There is no gender. So spiritually, whether you're a man or a woman, the capacity is equal. Whoever strives more will acquire more. Now, according to the logic of the Holy Quran, people think, they imagine that they're living, but in essence, they're dead due to their being drowned in lah and la'ib in this world. Living only qualifies as a figure of speech for them, for most of us. The Quran is inviting us to live. It's inviting us to live again. It's inviting the living to live. What kind of living? That Hayaat al-Tayyibah. It's inviting the living to live a pure life. Chapter 8:24. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu istajibu lillah. Respond to Allah. Rasool idha da'akum. And respond to the Holy Prophet when he summons you. Summons you to what? لَمَا يُحْيِيكُمْ. To that which grants you life. You see how important this life is in the Quran? Look how many times I've referenced traditions and verses of the Quran in relation to this hayat. Look how many times I've repeated this hayat so far. Don't underestimate this Hayaat al-Tayyibah. O you who believe, respond to Allah, respond to the Holy Prophet when he summons you to that which grants you life. This verse is addressed to Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, to those who have taqwa, to those who have iman. They're living. Taqwa is only the first step. You have to go higher. It's not sufficient. It's a special form of life that they're inviting us towards, that supersedes taqwa. إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ لَمَا يُحْيِيكُمْ. What is the Prophet summoning you towards? Two things. Recalling Allah, being in His presence, faith in Allah, and recalling the hereafter. These two, faith in Allah and recalling the hereafter, constitute the basis upon which spiritual movement can be realized. من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن. Whoever does righteous actions, and we haven't defined what righteous actions means yet. This is the last point, so if you just concentrate, because it's important for tomorrow's follow-up. من عمل صالحا, whoever does righteous actions, and we haven't defined what this righteous action is. Be you male or female, doesn't matter. As long as وَهُوَ مُؤْمِن, as long as you have iman. Iman in relation to what? Iman means faith in Allah, recalling the hereafter. And if you do righteous actions whilst having iman, فَلْنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً, will most certainly, you'll be granted this Hayaat al-Tayyibah. Righteous actions whilst having iman, so it's righteous actions based on this iman, which was faith in Allah and recalling the hereafter, you'll be granted Hayaat al-Tayyibah. The problem is this righteous actions that we have to focus upon. What does acting righteously mean? The level of the Salihin is very high. What are the prerequisites for you to acquire that Hayaat al-Tayyibah when you act righteously, what are the prerequisites? The prerequisites are وَمَا هَذِهِ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَهْوٌ وَلَعِبٌ وَإِنَّ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ لَهِيَ الْحَيَوَانُ. Only when your actions are lahw free, or la'ib free, or dunya free, only then you can acquire Hayaat al-Tayyibah. Only then your actions will qualify as being salih. And this la'ib, this dunya, it's all within. It's not outside. Everything is inside. Whatever exists outside is good. It's all grace. It's all blessings. That reproach dunya in Islam is the dunya within. Lahu, diversion. La'ib, amusement. Dunya, they're all inside. But you have to make your actions lahu free, la'ib free, dunya free. What does this mean? And how can one do this? Inshallah ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala ta'ala.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli